employees on the clock, and it was delivered to specific targeted members of this board in an effort to lobby them to make a decision, to make a change in decision, not to all members of this board, but to targeted members of this board. That is lobbying. That is political. Now, to remind you all of the history and how you got to the point where this board needed to reinsert itself as the power board, which it's only recently done, still not having a full disclosure of records. In 2012, prior city attorney and prior mayor, Steve Crane and Mayor Pavletic, went to, on behalf of this board of mayor and aldermen, the power board, finding out that Mr. Alderman had been granted a bonus in excess of $400,000, which they objected to. And could I? We need to maintain decorum. That the board objected to, and they told the board, the power board at that time, that they intended at that time for either that bonus to be rescinded or the board would reinsert itself then in 2012 as the power board, or it would be reported to the comptroller, or all three, and it was. And the comptroller, the power board, realizing its mistake, rescinded the $400,000 bonus to Mr. Alderman, and 3 months afterward, the comptroller's office opined that such a bonus was unlawful on several reasons. And besides that, the power board had a fiduciary duty to the ratepayers to ensure that the money was used for the benefit of all ratepayers and not paid to a single individual. So it was rescinded. In 2014, after roughly a year had passed, we found out, this board found out only recently, 10 years after the fact, that Mr. Alderman had retired, that the power board had entered into a contract for him to serve as an independent contractor, and that he was restored his bonus. And besides that, they entered into an unlawful concealment agreement, which they all signed, saying that they would tell no one, including this board, that they had given him that money back in violation of the comptroller's opinion and in violation of this board's intention. In 2019, they entered into a second contract with Mr. Alderman, which they gave this city no notice of. In 2022, Mr. Alderman came before this board asking for a charter amendment. When asked for his reasons for it, he stated it was to eliminate confusion, and he was able to give nothing more definite than that. We determined, after our own investigations, being unaware of any confusion that had happened in the recent documented past, that in fact they had restored him that $400,000 bonus, and not only had they restored it, they had taken that money from the Employee Retirement Trust, and there is nothing in their records that indicate that there was any discussion of how they were serving their fiduciary duty to the ratepayers by finding that that was in the best interest of those employees who are being serviced by that retirement account to give that money to an individual, Mr. Alderman. I consulted MTAS about whether the charter amendment would be advisable. They are independent. They are legal consultants furnished by the state of Tennessee, and I asked them merely the question, what would be their opinion? And their statement was verbatim: the amendment would create more separation between the governing body and the utility and lessen public control over its operations, which is not in the best interest of the city, in my opinion. That's the consultant. Municipal governing bodies should retain authority and control over their utilities, including the power to consolidate or sell those utilities in order to better serve citizens. In my opinion, this proposed alteration to the charter amendment is not in the best interest of the city, the citizens, or the ratepayers. So, after a year in litigation of trying to discover records of what happened, we have discovered that Mr. Alderman is earning more than $300,000 a year plus significant significant benefits. That salary, his benefits, and his bonus is not comparable to any other department head of the city. And his 2019 contract would have expired in 2014 with an automatic extension since the city had not given notice of intent to terminate. And so as this board was discussing its intentions regarding the power board, they come in at the 11th hour, and again, with no notice to this board, they give him a new contract with more years than the extension would have provided him under the automatic extension. And they say he can select a successor, which he has no authority to do. All department heads are selected and compensated by this board pursuant to the charter, and that he is supposed to, in this 3 years, train his successor. In 2024, BOMA, to restore city control over the Ripley Power and Light, which, Ms. Austin, contrary to what you stated earlier, is a department of this city, like all others. And to fully investigate what is happening there, it reinserted itself as the power board pursuant to law. The federal court said that was what it should do. The Chancery Court said it was lawfully authorized to do that. This is a very recent change, and RPL has only recently provided meeting agendas and minutes that were asked for months ago for purposes of transparency. And now they're already again asking for a charter change and an independent board. This is a board that has been out of control for 10 or more years. And this Board of Mayor and Aldermen has only recently taken charge to get the Ripley Power and Light both exposed to this board of what's happening there, and to get the operations of it operating more like the other departments of the city. And again, I don't know what these employees who've signed this document have been told, but I know they're still under the supervision of Mr. Aldermen. And again, that the board members who had it in advance were targeted, and they were lobbied for their vote tonight. So that is political as anything else you would hear. This utility board, this Board of Mayor and Aldermen serving as the utility board costs no more than the power board itself. I would argue likely less, because they'll be taking less advantage of the perks that are available to members of the power board in terms of travel, etc., and will be saving this city money, not costing it a dime more than the prior power board spending. This is not an advisable move, and even independent advisors have told us this is not an advisable move.
Now you're ready.
Okay, thank you so much. We do have attorneys to help when it comes to our city. We have MTAS. It's not like we don't have anybody. We do have MTAS. I'm asking this board to reconsider and to bring back the board to Ripley Power and Light Company. I'm asking you to do that.
Ms. Austin, did you understand
that the statement?
Yes, ma'am, that the statement that I read earlier was from MTAS?
I did. Yes, that's when I thought about MTAS, that's right. But I'm asking this board, I've seen nothing that Ripley Power and Light Board has done to deserve this, and I'm still asking the board to reinstate Ripley Power and Light Board back to the company.
Anyone else? Just a couple of things I'd like to say. I think this is a long-term issue. It started really 20 years ago. The city and the Power and Light have been to the Supreme Court once back then, and the case was resolved in favor of the city. We've been back since I've been mayor, and the decision of the comptroller was for the city to take legal action, so we did, because we weren't receiving any kind of information that from Ripley Power and Light. Had nothing to do with the employees, nothing to do with that at all, but we had no information. We did not know how much the superintendent, and still don't know how much the superintendent makes a year. And if that were a private business, it would be the superintendent's business, this is an employer. But this is public money, this is a public arm of the city, which the two courts that have just resolved their cases in favor of the city have said that they can't sue each other because they're the same. The Ripley and Power and Light and the city of Ripley are one and the same. And that gives these people, the elected people, the responsibility of taking care of taxpayer and ratepayer money. And that's why we're here. It's not any kind of, I don't think it's any kind of concentrated effort to do anything that's injurious to the people, but it happens to be, because what we don't have is transparency. We've gotten some of these minutes, and ladies and gentlemen, sometimes the last power increase that went up last year was put into effect before it was approved by the board. And we can't operate like that. And some of this-
Mayor, I want to say too, that back in the middle of 2023, I went to 3 Power Board meetings, and while there, I just typed in a narrative of what had been done at that meeting, and that narrative of what the actions they took at that meeting does not match their minutes. That's problematic.
It is, because, you know, if minutes don't match, if notice to the public is not there, whatever action that a board takes could be ruled null and void. So we have those responsibilities, and I think over the years we just got a little lax with procedures and processes. And that would be okay if it was somebody's business, that'd be up to them. But this, ladies and gentlemen, is a public business with taxpayer and ratepayer money that pay the bill, and we have to do it correctly. It's that simple. Now, the city of Ripley has become the power board. And if you heard what we said before, it had nothing to do, Mr. Aldermen runs a good show. He runs a good ship. You've got qualified people to do the job. Has any of that changed? Has any of that happened? Mr. Aldermen, because of this, is not going to be fired. The board was not fired. It was just time to get the process and procedures back. This is a voluntary board. The court said that they had no right to this job, and it's just the way it is. I'm sorry. Believe me, we've got things we need to do in this town rather than take on this 20-year thing. But it is important that we secure the trust of the taxpayers, and we don't have it now. And that's the reason we're here today.
So then you're saying you're not going to appoint another board down the road?
Oh, no, I think I've said that all along.
You are going to?
I think at the time, it's not up to me, it's up to me and the board, but I think that could happen.
Do we have a motion on the?
Yes, we do. And is there further discussion? If not, are you ready to vote? All right. All in favor say aye.
No.
All opposed say no.
Mayor, first, the motion was to dissolve the existing resolution and to reinstate an independent power board.
I did not read the motion, you're correct.
So
Okay.
there was
Read the motion, and what is your motion?
No.
Just vote no.
His motion.
The motion was to rescind the resolution adopted by the board of mayor and aldermen on July 1st, 2024, to take Ripley Power and Light Company under the control of the city board, and to reinstate the resolution dated December 6, 1958, pursuant to the Municipal Electric Plant Law of 1935, that established a Ripley Power and Light Company's independent utility board, separate and apart from the board of mayor and aldermen.
Mr. Long, is it fair to say what you're asking the board to do is to reverse its recent action to insert itself as the power board?
Madam Attorney, is that what rescind means?
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Well, that'd be the next one too.
All right. Would you call the roll for this vote?
Alderman Austin,
Yes.
Alderman Chipman,
No.
Alderman Frazier,
Yes.
Alderman Keeley,
No.
Alderman Long,
Yes.
Alderman Thompson,
Yes.
and the mayor.
No.
So we have 4 yeses and 3 noes.
All right. Are you ready for your next 21?
Yes, sir.
All right. Consider reinstatement of board members to Ripley Power and Light Company's Independent Utility Board to serve the remainder of 4-year term.
Thank you, sir. I make a motion to reestablish the Ripley Power and Light Company Independent Utility Board with the same board members as before the July 1st, 2024 City Board meeting. Those individuals being Philip Jackson, Kenny Parham, Eunice Jenkins, and Minnie Stowe. For those individuals to continue to serve the remainder of the terms to which they had previously been appointed. And to confirm Philip Jackson to the remainder of his 4-year term to expire on December 31st, 2027. And to appoint Austin Thompson be the liaison.
I thought Minnie Stowe.
Second.
Ms. Stowe resigned, so an alternate would have to be appointed in her place. She did resign. When she was
Yeah.
appointed as the clerk and master of the Chancery Court, she resigned her position.
So who would appoint this new board?
Who would appoint the new board member?
Or the board
There-
members?
He
He
is,
indicates that,
well, he's asking for those to be reinstated, but, Mayor.
how do you reinstate?
Well, I don't think that that's legally proper, because the way board members are determined, and has historically been done by the city, is that there's been an advertisement for power board members. Those who are interested in the positions apply, and then this board appoints the members of the power board. So, and they'd be appointed on staggered terms, but there'd have to be an advertisement for members. And obviously, those who were the prior members could apply, and additional
Use the
persons
regular
could
procedure.
apply.
All right. Okay.
That wasn't his motion.
Is there a second?
And to clarify, no, that was not Mr. Long's motion, but what Mr. Long is proposing is not legally sound. That is not the means by which, when a power board is established, that members are chosen. There has to be an advertisement and a proper selection process.
That's your legal opinion?
Yes, sir.
Well, we can't vote on something that's illegal, can we? All right, Mr. Long, you're recognized on item 22, the consideration of amendment to section 6 of the charter.
Thank you, sir. I make a motion to amend section 6 of the Ripley Charter as set out in the draft that I had provided previously.
Is there a second? Sir. Yeah, I hear a second.
Who's that?
Mr. Thompson.
Mayor, may I
Yes.
address the board?
Yes.
This charter change. Every one of us up here were elected by the citizens of Ripley, whether it be in my district or whoever's. But we're all here to represent the citizens. The citizens of the city of Ripley own Ripley Power and Light. We don't as a group, the existing board don't as a group, the citizens do. And the only say-so that they have is through us, the elected officials. If we take this out of the charter, in my opinion, we are just doing away with any say-so that they would have. I voted no the first time, and I'll vote no this time.
You recognize.
As a matter of procedure, I also want the board to be aware that when, first of all, to address the comptroller and the AG's prior opinions, there needs to be some discussion about why such a move would be in the interests of the citizens of Ripley, not the power board and not Ripley Power and Light, but the citizens of the city of Ripley. And secondly, the amendment of the charter is a two-step process. It would have to be a charter amendment would have to be passed by a simple majority. And then you're going to expend political capital by asking some member of the legislature to carry a bill through the General Assembly to have that measure approved by the General Assembly as a private act. And then it would have to come back to this board in its second phase for ratification. That requires a 2/3 majority, which means that going in, this board essentially has to know that it has 5 votes in support of this action, or it will not pass on ratification when it comes back from the General Assembly, and we will have wasted political capital with our legislators.
Is that understood? Any other? Well, we have thoughtfully come a long way in trying to make sure that there is a standard of transparency, correctness, and communication. We still have that opportunity to do that. There is really no downside to the employees if we continue the same way as we have been for the last, over 50 years with the charter in effect, and we stand the risk of not being able to change it if the vote goes that way. I think it's very dangerous to take this step at this stage of the game. And when you have a situation where you've got contracts signed without notice to the public, when you've got situations where boards are told to not disclose to anyone what your actions are, I think to remove any city oversight from the Power and Light Company is at the very least, a terrible detriment to the citizens, to the taxpayers. There have just been 2 years of taxpayer or ratepayer increases, another one getting ready to go into effect. As I understand it, the board in effect at the time recommended a 9% increase on top of 5.9% increase by TVA, tantamount to a 15% increase this year, in addition to the increase by TVA and Ripley Power and Light the year before, somewhere in the neighborhood of a 25% increase within a year. And in addition, $1 million was taken out of the reserve to add to the retirement fund when the minutes of the corporation, of the Power and Light Board showed that $100,000 would satisfy that, rather than $1 million that the corporation has. It's not a corporation, but the Ripley Power and Light Company has lost.
In all due respect,
No, sir, you're not recognized.
I didn't think so, because that's all wrong.
Well, it's right. So think before you take this vote, ladies and gentlemen. It's all right.
And again, absent 5 votes, it won't
Well, if
pass
it
on
won't pass,
ratification.
I don't think we should, we can see if it gets 5 votes. Okay, we'll see. Are you ready? We have a motion and a second.
May I
Is there any
say
more
something?
discussion? Yes, you may.
I came into this not knowing anything about anybody's past or nothing. I had an opportunity to see someone by being liaison at the Power and Light Company, a very intelligent young man that we are fortunate to have. I see the recognition that we get as Power and Light Company, especially when, as a department, one of the most recognized ones when Blue Oval was, recognized that it put us in a good position. In other words, because of how we we were getting recognition, and it's the cost of how it's being run. And that is what I've been witnessing. And when I didn't have an opportunity to say something at some of these meetings. I wanted to recognize some awards that we had gotten to. Very impressed with our Power and Light company from TVA and different ones. And it's because of how it's been run. Now, I'm not hearing, I'm hearing his name, this man's name a lot. I don't know anything about anything. I hear more about his name than anything. I mean, when we're discussing this, not because we are in trouble up here, we're in a good position. Are we not?
Well, sir, with all due respect, I think that's what you've heard as liaison to the board. But there are items of fact here that for the last 2 years, this company has been in $1 million shortfall on their budget. And there's things that were done that were not proper according to the comptroller, who takes care of city and county business. And I don't doubt that and I've never doubted that a good job has been done, but I'm afraid the board was not given all the facts. I know that because I've read the minutes and I see what the situation is. I agree with you in one way. It's a good company. I've never said anything about that. But when you look at this and some of the disclosures that weren't made, some of the transparency that weren't there, some of the transactions that were done without your board, that board, as your liaison and a voting member, even knew about. And I just want everybody to think about that. Look, it's very disturbing to me. Very disturbing. But
Well, why don't we just table it to the next meeting, so everybody can get
Would that have any bearing on taking money out of one place and putting into another one? Is it because it's so bad on you, or it's driving you, or it hurt you? Is it because money has been taken out and
You're talking about-
somewhere else? Or is that why it
No,
hurts
no,
so
ma'am.
bad?
No,
What's the
ma'am.
hurt-
It-
the hurt is?
It hurts because of what I see that's being not disclosed to the taxpayers. Now, if it were disclosed and everybody was all right with it, I think that's fine. I think that's fine, but it just wasn't.
Ms. Austin, the prior mayor and the prior city attorney had problems with this dating back to 2012. This is not about the current mayor.
Attorney
This is
Jackson,
not
I was
about
there.
that.
I was there.
Then you
I
know.
went to the court.
Then
I
you
was
know.
there.
Were
So,
you there
you
when
know, I
they
was
signed the
there
concealment
when they went
agreement?
in. I was there when we went to the hearing. I was there, so I know you don't have to
What
tell me
hearing?
again. We went with the mayor and Mr. Alderman, Larry Shelby, it was not Rita Austin, Larry Shelby, and,
That was the lawsuit from
Yes, ma'am.
This
That's
was
a
several-
different.
several, that was before 2012.
okay,
That's-
so we've been there. Okay, so,
So
we know
this is not a matter personal to this board. This is a matter dating back to several administrations ago, including a different mayor, a different city attorney, when they discovered an unlawful contribution as a bonus to a supplemental retirement
Yes,
fund.
we know about that.
They gave it back to him a little more than a year later and entered into a concealment agreement
We know
to
that.
conceal it from the public, which is unlawful. There is no basis in the law for a member of a local government entity to enter into an agreement that conceals its finances from the public. And they took it out of the employee retirement trust with no discussion whatsoever of how that served the employees who they were representing and the ratepayers who they were representing. And again, concealed all this. There's been no explanation for why any of that was good for ratepayers, the employees of Ripley Power and Light, or for this city. There's been no discussion as to why this charter change would be good for the city of Ripley.
All right, let's see where we are. We're in discussion. Anybody else? If not, we'll take a vote with a minimum of 5.
Well, a minimum of 4, but again, if that passes and it goes to the legislature and comes back as private act, it would have to be ratified by 5, and if you don't have 5 going in, the real question for you all is whether you want to expend the political capital.
All right. Is everybody ready to vote on this? All right, call roll, Madam Clerk.
Alderman Austin,
Yes.
Alderman Chipman,
No.
Alderman Frazier,
No.
Alderman Keeley,
No.
Alderman Long,
Yes.
Alderman Thompson,
Yep. Yes, ma'am. What was that?
yes,
Yes?
Mayor.
Thompson? No.
So we have 4 noes and 3 yeses.
Motion fails. Consideration of the establishment of City of Ripley competitive bid process for financial accounts. Alderman Long.
Thank you, sir. I make a motion that all city departments seek competitive interest rates for its deposits using standard bid sheets and bid time limits to banks and financial institutions in order for the city to receive the best interest rates for the citizens.
You recognize, I think we do that, don't we?
That's required as a matter of law.
Yeah. I believe, Mr. Long, that we already do that.
We already do that.
On a periodic basis,
Yes.
the law provides it on a periodic basis. The board has to receive, through a competitive bid process, bids on the placement of its accounts, et cetera. And so that's already required by law, and it's been done. And all
We
the
did
bids that I
this
did
a
is-
year ago, and I think we had 2.
We did.
One bank was solid 0, and the other bank was different amounts.
Did you actually make a motion?
You did.
He made a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
We do have a second. We've already indicated that this has already been done.
It's just not required it is required as a matter of law. There's no need for a motion. We're already subject to state law, which requires it.
Withdraw your motion.
Okay, withdraw.
All right, Mr. Long, consideration of addressing conflicts of interest and transparency in city's financial accounts.
Thank you, sir. I make a motion that no city department funds be deposited or held in any bank or financial institution where a member of the board, a mayor and alderman sits on the bank board, is a major shareholder or an executive officer or owns any part of that bank.
Second.
Again, state law permits that, and as a matter of law, we would be, we've been preempted
Yeah,
by
we-
state law, which allows it.
I'm not having anything to do with this code, but yeah, and just, just give me a few months and we won't have to worry about it at all. Is there a second?
But that matter's been preempted by state law.
All right, it's preempted by by state law. Nothing further on that. All right, is there anything else to come before the board?
Did we have a motion and a second?
Is there a second?
Second.
I
You
thought-
second that?
Uh-huh.
All right.
I second.
Well, when I first got elected to this office, we went through the lawyer and I had a great battle about that. I hired counsel and made a presentation to this board and to the citizens of Ripley. In addition, there's a specific statute, sir, that says that and I think I made this disclosure the first meeting after this last election in August. If the proper disclosure that the law requires, there is a specific statute for banks, financial institutions. And it says just what the alderman's motion is about if anybody has that interest. I made that disclosure, and I made it every year since I've been elected. And the law provides that I can serve my community, that lived here all my life, to serve, and I'm proud to do it, but we'll take a vote.
Well, and again, I don't know that it would even be enforceable if it passed because we're preempted by state law.
Well, somebody will say, but you wouldn't let you vote on that, so we're going to vote on that.
Sure.
Well, do I need to see responsibility for that? Is that working tonight? He said that,
You're not president yet, but you'll get there sometime.
okay.
Well, yeah, you would have an indirect conflict of interest in this matter, and you could vote if you indicated that you had an indirect conflict because you serve as an employee of the bank. You are allowed by state law to vote on the matter with the understanding that you have, an indirect conflict of interest as an employee of the bank, but you could vote.
Let's vote. All in favor say aye. All opposed say no.
No.
We'll take a roll call.
Alderman Austin?
Yes.
Alderman Chipman?
No.
Alderman Frazier?
Yes.
Alderman Keeley?
Yes.
Alderman Long?
Yes.
Alderman Thompson?
I'll get you a specific
Okay.
opinion from MTAS as an independent body about whether it's enforceable.
May I say something? Why are we voting on this? Why are we voting on this?
I agree.
Because
Well, we have a second, and that,
if this was not, if this was not legal, it would have all been,
State auditors and the comptroller are aware every year of where the city's funds are on deposit. Again, as a matter of state law, what this board has done in the past and where it's had its money has been allowed by state law. And again, you can make this motion to have this vote and carry this vote, but as a matter of state law, I don't think it's enforceable. I don't know why you vote on something that's preempted by state law. But you did, so I'll get an MTAS opinion.
you haven't voted yet, right?
Did you vote also?
All right, so one passed.
What was your vote?
You passed.
Your passing, is that correct? I'm sorry, I didn't hear it. Pass, right, and mayor.
I vote no.
Well, we have 4 yeses, we have 4 yeses and 2 noes with a pass, plus a pass. So 4 yeses.
Okay.
It passed, that's why I think MTAS will ultimately have to say it's not enforceable.
Spent a lot of money for that lawyer opinion, though. Ooh.
Alderman Long, I believe you have one other item.
I apologize, I wasn't ready for that, I didn't think that we were going to get around to it.
Let's actually consider Tennessee Comptroller Office financial review.
Yep. Let's see.
Is that on the agenda?
It was in his packet. When the agenda was typed up, it was inadvertently omitted. That's why
He
Donna.
did request it to
Yes,
be
and
on
he did
there.
request it to be on the agenda properly.
And it was included in your package, the item. His request is to consider Tennessee Comptroller Office financial review.
I got Mike's out.
I don't think there's anything in our packet. All right, you recognize Mr. Long.
Well, okay, here we go. I hope that everybody had this information. I make a motion that a letter which I'm making part of this motion be sent from this board to the Tennessee Comptroller requesting a review of the claims made during the election that taxpayer funds were held in non-interest bearing accounts for the past 4 years.
Now, just to clarify, none of the motions were provided to us previously. The only thing that I had was the list of items to consider. I don't have any of the motions to be able to provide to y'all.
Would you mind restating it in a little slower,
Sure.
so, because I'm not familiar with the subject matter.
And I talk fast, I apologize.
That's okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
I make a motion that a letter, which I'm including with this motion, be sent from this board to the Tennessee Board of the Tennessee Comptroller, requesting a review of the claims made during the election that taxpayer funds were held in non-interest bearing accounts for the past 4 years.
We're held by whom?
I assume whatever account they were sitting
By what entity, what account, I mean, what specifically are you talking about?
in. I
Because I'm
believe
not
those
familiar.
accounts-
I mean, I'm just, the letter to the comptroller would typically be, would go to me on referral and with your letter attached, and I haven't seen it. But claims made during the election that taxpayer funds were held in non-interest bearing accounts, held by whom, for what purpose?
As far as I understand, they were held at the Bank of Ripley as just part of normal business operations.
So are you referring to the city's general government, or are you referring to gas and water, power and light?
General government.
I guess my question would be, why, since any member of the public is eligible to go online and submit a referral to the comptroller for such an action, why the board would do that?
Absolutely. Just to clear up this issue that the citizens have been having, make sure the new board is not seen as trying to conceal any of the issues, or we gotta look over our shoulders to see if anything's coming down the pipe at us and protects this board from future blame, as well as helping make sure that the board understands how these funds are to be managed.
So are you saying, what you're saying is, the money that the citizens have in the Bank of Ripley, you're wanting to see if we are drawing enough interest off of this money, or could it go to another establishment and draw more interest off for the people?
Correct.
But to clarify, now, are you talking about how many $1 million are you referring to?
I currently don't know how much is on deposit in there.
Well, no, I mean, do you have a thought process that you're referring to? Because I know it was said that several $1 million on deposit, but that's not the city of Ripley's general government. A lot of it is not.
So if it's not the general government, what would it be?
It would be the utility companies. power and light or gas and water, which they
So-
make their own.
So presumably, if this board wants to send a letter, it wants to include consideration of the deposits of Ripley Power and Light at that same financial institution that were held likewise in non-interest bearing accounts.
Just to make sure we're all on the same page.
So the question then would be whether the power board had allowed that to happen.
And not just the power board, we've got other boards that have deposits as well.
Well, and that's what I'm asking. Which entities are we talking about, which funds on deposit?
The three come to mind, RPL, Ripley Gas and Water, Ripley Housing.
We don't.
Okay, RHA is not, RHA is an independent board,
Okay.
independent entity.
So there's definitely two boards involved in, right?
And so are we talking about the general fund or all monies on deposit by those entities?
To my all funds, would it be all funds?
I would think all funds.
Okay,
Let's see what we got. What do you have as the,
the part I wrote down that I was trying to clarify is letter to the comptroller
Yep.
to require a review of claims made during the election.
Yep.
that Taxpayer funds were held, and I put by with a, and apparently there's, by the city, Ripley Power Board, at Bank of Ripley as part of normal business operations, in non-interest bearing accounts.
Correct.
Okay, well, and you're aware that the comptroller receives those reports, I mean, we have auditors who do the audits of those accounts, and the comptroller already gets that information annually.
I am aware, I'm
Okay.
asking that this be done in addition to that.
and that there are banks that aren't qualified to hold public funds.
That's my motion.
You heard the motion,
Second.
and we have a second. Is there discussion? Not, a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no.
No,
I'm excusing myself from this. But the bigger ribbon money, right?
Well, sometimes you need to vote.
Okay?
Okay, let's see.
What was,
But I didn't call it. I guess we'll have to take a roll call vote.
okay. Alderman Austin,
Yes.
Alderman Chipman,
no,
Alderman Frazier,
I'm abstaining from this.
do what?
I'm not gonna vote on this.
He's abstaining.
Okay. Alderman Keeley,
Pass.
Alderman Long,
Yes.
Alderman Thompson,
Anytime.
To submit a letter from this board requiring a review